Complexity feels like sophistication. A dozen accounts. -1 credit cards, 3 brokerages. A budgeting app you stopped opening months ago. It looks like someone taking money seriously. But walk into the home of someone actually wealthy, and the setup is embarrassingly plain. So why does the person with the simplest finances so often end up with the most money in the end? The answer runs against everything the financial world sells you, because it does not profit when your money is simple. Managing money takes attention, and attention is not free. Every account and app is a withdrawal from a limited resource. Your focus does not refill overnight like your checking account does. And you felt this even without naming it. It shows up as the statement you keep avoiding. The transfer you meant to make weeks ago and never did. There is a name for what happens next: decision fatigue. Since every choice pulls from the same limited well of willpower, by the time the important decisions arrive, the ones that build real wealth, you are already running on empty. So you defer, you default, and eventually you do nothing at all. And doing nothing with money is rarely free. Here is where the research gets surprising. Columbia professor Sheena Iyengar studied nearly 800,000 people and their retirement plans. She wanted to know what happened when employers offered more investment options. And common sense says more choice should be better. That is not what she found. For every 10 additional fund options added, participation in the plan dropped 2 percentage points. These were not people who could not afford to save. Many walked away from free employer matching money entirely. The menu in front of them was simply too long to face. So more choice made them freeze, then settle. That is choice overload, and it follows you everywhere your money is scattered. Which brings us to the scattered account tax. Think about someone named Angela, responsible, careful, and yet spread across 5 different accounts she opened for 5 different reasons. A checking account to savings accounts, an old retirement plan she never rolled over, and a brokerage app she mostly ignores. Nothing here is a disaster on its own, but together it adds up to someone who cannot see her whole board. About $8,000 sits in a big bank savings account earning almost nothing, quietly going nowhere for years. Angela is not broke and she is not careless. She is just spread out to see what her money is doing. Let me make the scattered account tax visible with the clearest example there is, where you actually keep your cash. As of mid-2026, the national average savings account interest rate in America was just 0.38%, according to the FDIC. The best high-yield savings accounts from online banks were paying right around 4%, and some large traditional banks paid just 0.01%. Say you keep $10,000 in savings. At 4%, that pays about $400 a year for doing nothing. At a big traditional bank paying 0.01%, that same $10,000 pays you about $1 single for the year. Same money, same safety, same FDIC insurance, and one setup pays you 400 times more than the other. Scale that to a fuller $15,000 emergency fund, and the gap becomes over $500 a year. The problem is almost never that people choose the worst account on purpose. Their cash is simply scattered and forgotten. Angela's $8,000 is losing close to $300 a year purely because it sits in the wrong place. Consolidate that cash into one strong account and the leak seals itself. One decision worth hundreds of dollars every year. There is one form of scattered money so common it has become a national problem. The left behind retirement account. Every time someone changes jobs, they tend to leave their old workplace plan sitting exactly where it was, half forgotten. As of mid-2025, nearly 32 million of these forgotten 401k accounts existed across America, holding around $2.1 trillion total. The average forgotten account held about $66,000. A serious piece of someone's retirement drifting on autopilot unwatched. Once you leave a company, that old plan can stop being subsidized, and administrative fees land fully on you instead. In a worst-case scenario, a single forgotten account could cost someone over $500,000 across a full career. The fix is almost insultingly simple. Roll that old account into one place you already control, usually an IRA. If you have held more than one job, there is a real chance you have money like this floating around right now. Tracking it down might be the single most profitable afternoon you spend all year, and it costs nothing to try. Now let's talk about the drain hiding in plain sight on your card statement. Subscriptions eating quietly at your money. Research found the average person guesses they spend about $86 monthly on subscriptions, but the real number is closer to $219. That gap of $133 a month comes to about $1,600 a year, quietly disappearing unnoticed. Invested instead at a normal 7% return over 30 years. That same amount grows to roughly $162,000. The fix is a 15-minute act of simplification. List every recurring charge and cancel what you did not consciously choose. There is a quieter version of this problem living in your spending cards. Splitting purchases across 4 or 5 of them. Pull your everyday spending onto a single card. And for the first time, the whole month shows up in one number. Now for the big one, where complexity costs the most, investing. Sold hard as something that requires cleverness to win. Each year, SPIVA compares professional active fund managers against a simple index, and the data takes that belief apart. In 2025, 79% of active large company stock funds failed to beat the plane. S&P 500 index outright stretched the window to 20 years, and around 92% of professional managers fell short of the simple approach. Consider to people investing $100,000 for 30 years, both earning 7% before costs are subtracted. Frances puts her money in an actively managed fund charging 1% a year in ongoing fees. Daya puts hers in a simple index fund charging just 0.03%. The same market, same time, same starting amount. After 30 years, Frances ends up with about $574,000. While Daya ends up with about $755,000. That roughly $180,000 difference went entirely to fees for a product that performed worse overall. In investing, the plain, low-cost, boring index approach has beaten the clever one for the vast majority of professionals. Before building the fix, we have to lift the heaviest weight. Nothing simplifies a financial life faster than clearing debt. Stop treating 5 debts as 5 problems and start treating them as one. Pointing every spare dollar at the top. Order by highest interest rate to save the most money. Or smallest balance first to build momentum. Both genuinely work. Now here is what a truly simple financial life actually looks like. Almost boring enough to disappoint you honestly. 1 checking account for your paycheck and bills. 1 high-yield savings account earning that 4% instead of a penny. 1 brokerage account holding 1 or 2 broad index funds you never have to babysit or constantly check on, and 1 retirement account. Your workplace 401k or an IRA, funded automatically every single time you get paid. For 2026, you can put up to $24,500 into a 401k and $7,500 into an IRA. Most people never come close to those limits, which tells you the ceiling is almost never the real problem here. The quiet superpower that runs this whole system is automation, which removes decision fatigue from the equation entirely. When you automate your money, you make the good decision one time and then never have to make it again. You are no longer leaning on discipline on the 4th Tuesday of a hard month. The system works even then. That is what wealthy people actually do. They do not carry more discipline than you, they carry less to decide. Consolidation protects you in ways you never think about until you need them, making fraud far easier to spot. Tax time stops being a scavenger hunt across 5 institutions, and the people who love you can find what you left. A simple financial life is not only richer, it is safer, and kinder to everyone downstream of you as well. The behaviors that actually build wealth are almost aggressively boring. According to a large study of American millionaires, the majority were self-made. Only a minority ever earned a very high income, and most reached wealth through decades of unglamorous behavior. Nobody films a viral video about keeping the same car for 15 years and canceling subscriptions they do not use. But those are the people steadily ending up with the most. While the flashy ones stay one bad month from the edge, there is a trap even careful people fall into, the optimizer's trap. Hunting for a savings account paying 0.1% more. All that energy spent optimizing the small stuff is energy not spent on earning more and saving more of it. Simple is not just easier. Simple frees up the attention that complexity was eating and lets you point it at what matters. So if simple works this well, you might reasonably ask why almost no one is telling you to do it. Follow the money. There is an entire industry built on convincing you your finances are too complicated to handle alone. Complexity sells the actively managed fund with the higher fee, the exciting app, the newsletter, the advisor charging a percentage, A person with one checking account, one savings account, and one boring index fund is simply not a good customer. Your complexity is somebody else's revenue. And once you see that incentive clearly, you cannot ever unsee it again. When your money is simple, something changes that has nothing to do with the numbers on any statement at all. The anxiety lifts. You open your statements because nothing is hiding in them. And mistakes get rarer with fewer moving parts. Your Sunday evenings come back. The ones you used to lose to dread over money you couldn't quite track. That calm in the person whose setup was almost embarrassingly plain was never luck. It was less financial noise on purpose. Simple did not make them poorer. Simple is a large part of what actually made them free in the end. You do not need more accounts or a clever strategy. The richer version of your financial life is the smaller one. Fewer accounts, fewer decisions, fewer leaks, fewer nights lying awake doing math you did not need to do at all. Here is what to do this week. Pick just one thing from this list and make it simpler right now. Move your emergency cash into an account that actually pays you. And cancel the 3 subscriptions you forgot you had. Roll that old retirement account into one place you can finally see and watch grow over the years ahead. You do not have to fix your whole financial life in an afternoon. Just one notch simpler than yesterday. Which part of your money feels the most complicated right now? The 5 cards or the app you stopped opening? Have you already simplified something and watched it change how you feel about opening your statements each month? Tell me the one thing you are going to make simpler this week, or the one that already made a difference. Drop it in the comments below, because sometimes the exact tip you needed is sitting inside a stranger's story.